Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Monday, up and out of May 20th. June is coming. I mean, this spring is coming right along. So I thought today's topic would talk about you have customers that bother you after hours, and if you're a mechanic for a shop, are you being approached, and what's your take on people bringing you equipment to work on in your off time? So stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back. My name is Eric, and this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Monday. It's available on podcast as well. So today's topic is how do you train customers not to bother you after shop hours? Now, this isn't talking about the shop has a answering machine, so people can leave messages after hours, and we've done it for years. We've had it where if you have something you want to drop off, either call ahead, let me know it's coming, and then get it to the yard. If they're going to pick it up themselves or bring it over and drop it off themselves, or leave a tag or something on it so I know whose it is. And a lot of times what we end up doing is if we have customers that want to have their machines picked up, during the day when they're at work and stuff, I'll arrange it with them, get it out where I can see it, or with one gal what we do stuff with, she leaves her side garage door open for that morning when she goes to work. And then we know where the garage door opener is, we open the door, drive the lawnmower, snowblower, what have you, out onto the trailer, close everything back up, and we lock the garage because we know we're not coming back that same day with a mower, right? So we lock the garage for her peace of mind that nobody is in her garage. Those things are fine, and I encourage it. That's a good way to, try to work with your customers the best you can and show them that you really want their business, that you're willing to go above and beyond for them. And you don't want to take that for granted either. Because if, you start making it difficult for them to get anything worked on, then they'll just go somewhere else. Because they won't feel, like they're needed or that you want them as a customer. What I'm talking about is the ones that you hardly ever get any work out of. And they know what time the shop closes. They know what time the shop opens. But yet they'll come like 5:30, 6 o'clock at night and want you to go get them a lawnmower belt because they blew the deck belt. And when I first started, I was like, okay, I'll go up and do it. A sale was a sale, right? No. Because then it became more than one time. It was weekly. And then it was getting to the point where somebody would bother Claude or I on a daily basis after hours. And we both sat down and had a chit chat. Because he's not only my mechanic, he's my best friend. And it was starting to bother him a little bit. And so we got to teach our customers, the answer is no, after hours. Leave it on the machine, leave it down there on the answer machine, or leave it down there at the shop with a tag, or call us ahead of time and drop it off after hours. But what they were, and I call these the customers that you don't really want anyways. We're approaching Claude and trying to get him to go to their house and work on their lawnmower and, and not have it be shop time. And he asked me one time what I thought. And I said, well, if we're swamped with work, it'd be fine. But when we have a slower period and you're doing that on the side for them, that may be great. But if we're not getting enough shop work because everybody's going to you after hours because you're cheaper, because you don't have the overhead that I have, and the amount of units being repaired are less, what's going to happen? And what's going to happen is we're going to go to half day instead of a full day, part-time versus full-time, right? And if you're still standing around a lot on a half day, then I may just shut down that aspect of the business of repairing stuff. If you're willing to do it, why don't you open up your own shop and get the headaches with it? I'm not trying to discourage you aspiring weekend warriors or weekend and after work at night, keep your day job, trying to get a business started. I'm talking about the guys that are working for a shop and having the shop's customers coming to them and getting the work done. They would never have known about that mechanic for that shop had they not come to the shop in the first place. So it's not like, well, they knew me before they knew the shop. Bullcrap. They came to you because they figured out you worked for that shop. And the old saying goes, you don't eat where you shit. And that's what the way I look at it is, you're taking business away from your employer. I mean, I guess if you hate your job and you hate your employer and you care less about your job, knock yourself out. But in the end, you're taking bread and butter off from that dealership or that warranty shop or that repair shop's table. And I've seen this with auto mechanics as well. Well, I got a side business I'm doing. Yeah, that's fine. As long as it's not being funneled through the shop. How do they know about you? Is it because they brought something into the shop to get worked on and they got introduced to you and now they know where you live and they're going there? And I've seen mechanics talk to customers when the boss wasn't around, telling them, I can do it for half that if you want to bring it over to my house. That's even worse. It is. I know this is going to be a good one because I know some of you mechanics out there are going to say, that's bullshit, Eric. We're not taking it from the shop. We're just trying to make some extra money on the weekends and nights to feed the family. And what do you think the shop owner is going to think? He's trying to feed his own family, and he's trying to feed you and your family, and he's trying to be, do it the right way with all the taxes and insurances and crap all of that goes along with running a business, not even counting payroll, payroll taxes, Social Security, the list goes on and on. So that's just one thing I want you to keep in mind. I like to have your thoughts on it as well, but as a shop owner, and I do mechanical work, I don't work on other people's stuff. I push it through the shop. If you want it done to the shop, that's fine. I'm not doing it here. I'm not doing it at your house. Claude's the same way. I'll come take a look, but I'm not turning a wrench. If I have to turn a wrench, it's going to be through the shop. And if I'm going to get paid, it's going to be through the shop. And once we both started being consistent about, no, we're not doing the work unless it's through the shop. It's got to be during regular hours through the shop. And no, we're not just going to walk away from dinner at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night because you're pounding on my door needing a deck belt. No. Leave a message and we'll leave it out with an invoice in one of the trucks, the dually that I parked down to the shop, and you can pick it up after hours and leave a check or cash for what the invoice is. Other than that, no. And in the beginning, it was a little hard because customers had gotten used to us just jumping and running down there and trying to find what they need. So basically, it comes down to just training your customers, right? Of when is appropriate, when, they have their work too, right? They may do 9 to 5, 8 to 4. We happen to do 6 to 3. And normally the shop is open 7 days a week. If I'm around on a Saturday or Sunday, the shop bay doors and stuff are open. And if I'm in the shop, absolutely. And I've had customers call me on a Sunday at the shop to leave a message and find out, are you going to be there for a while? I said, yeah, I know. If I know you're coming, I'm here doing book work and stuff like that. Yes, come on up. That's fine. But just like you with your job, if you work for somebody else or you're self-employed or whatever, you don't want to be bothered in the middle of dinner. And you're not the type that would be bothering somebody else in the middle of the dinner, because your deck belt broke and you need the lawn mowed. That's a personal problem. You're trying to make it my problem. But in the reality, it's a personal problem. And there's a couple shops that are probably still open that you might be able to source yourself that deck belt. Maybe you can check with Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart. Who knows? Or you might be able to get one of these other shop owners to run their asses to their shop to get you that belt. But what I've learned in the time that we've been doing this is those guys that will come at you like that are they're not having you work on their equipment, so you're not getting hardly squat out of them. You might get a little markup on that belt, but that's going to be it. They're the ones that are cheapy. And if they do have something brings to the shop, they're the ones that complain about how crazy the bill is. It shouldn't be that high. And as I've told Claude, is the minute you put your hands on somebody's machine, you own it. And what do I mean by that? I mean, the minute you touch that machine, everything was working fine until you did this, and now I've had all these problems. And it could be a freaking year later, and they want you to come do it for free. It doesn't fly at the shop. But I've seen numerous mechanics that are doing this stuff on the side of their day job on nights and weekends get stuck in that situation and have come to me and said, what do I do? What do you mean, what do you do? First of all, you're doing something that you're taking work away from your own shop. So you're almost as bad as the customer that is coming to you. And then secondly, you're whining to me about the customer won't leave you alone. And they want you to continually do stuff for free. Say no. They're not going to say anything worse than what they're already saying about you. So just simply say no. And hopefully that person isn't going to come back to the shop, because I'm going to remember that. And we don't take on every customer. It's crazy, ludicrous too. If a customer leaves a bad taste in my mouth, the next time they call or want something done, it's sorry, can't help you. So, and this is going to be something for your do-it-yourselfers and homeowners, if you're listening, it's a lot further ahead to have trust with the shop that you deal with. And even if you're just buying the stuff you need and you're doing all the repairs on it yourself, that's gravy, that's super. And most shops will work with you. If you're working during the day and you need a belt, if you need one for me and you're in my area, call. and I will leave an invoice with the belt in my dually unlocked, and stop in when you get done work, grab the belt, grab the invoice, leave a check in the glove compartment. Easy peasy. But don't bother the business owner or the employees after hour to get what you need, because if you come to us, the answer is going to be no, and it may hurt you in the long run. And on to the next topic. The next topic is oils. I did the video yesterday because there's been this misconception about, oil, and that the synthetic is going to save your ass for long periods of time. And to dispel that myth, the myth is it's not the oil or that oil filter that will keep your machine running for years. It's the maintenance and how well you take care of it. It's a false sense of security going with full synthetic, thinking that you don't have to change the oil in it for the next 5 or 6 years. That's ludicrous, asinine, and that engine is not going to last. That mower is not going to last, because if you're doing it to the engine, I can just imagine what you're doing to everything else. If you have somebody else doing the service work, minimum once a year on your lawnmower. Minimum. I don't care if it's only got 60 hours total. The customers that I have, like the John Deere that I bought off from one of my customers, and the John Deere was over 10 years old and looked like it had rolled right off the John Deere dealership's forum. Why? Because the man took care of it. The man looked at it with value and was willing to put the extra time in. So if you do it the way you need to be doing it, conventional oil will be just fine. It's the intervals for oil changes and, pressure washing it, because you got excessive heat there, and during the summer you can run like 85, 90 degrees outside when you're mowing, so that makes it heat even more. Keeping the fins and everything clear of debris, making sure none of your fins are broken off, because if they are, I've seen that will overheat an engine. It's maintenance, and how well you take care of it. And if you have an issue and you take care of it, you'll never have problems. But if you let things go, like the idea with, if I go with full synthetic, which I do recommend, by the way, I do, and it's just because everything is being changed to that, and I think it does a better job of lubricating. But even with all that said, if you're running conventional oil in your lawnmower, it's not going to hurt it, as long as you're doing oil changes on a regular basis, maintenance on a regular basis. One of you asked about, you just bought a 55-gallon drum of a synthetic blend. Perfectly fine. That's as long as your customers are the ones that will keep bringing it back to you to get service, so that you know that they've got a regular routine, and that when it comes in for a service, you're not just doing an oil change on it. You need to be the investigator, and even if there's nothing wrong with it, customer says, oh, it needs an oil change, you still want to go from front to back on that girl. Check to see if any of the bushings are starting to wear, steering is starting to wear or loosen up. Big one, engine bolts, so that they're not loosening up and causing the engine to shake itself. Belts, making sure that the belts, if it's got a nick in it, you might as well get rid of it right now before it causes more damage. Longevity is how well you take care of it. It's funny because I've seen people go out and spend 3 to 4 grand for a lawnmower, mow the yard, and then park it out where the elements can get to it for the rest of the season when they're done with it, through the winter and back into spring, and then expect it to be ready to go in the summer when you start to mow again. Those guys that are taking their decks off, cleaning their decks in the fall, and, touching up what they need to touch up or starting to rust, keeping their decks cleaned, changing their blades at the correct intervals, checking their belts, making sure there's no bad spots on them, dings. That's where I don't want people thinking it's a false sense of security if they buy full synthetic, that it's going to be, the cure for everything. And it's not. It's not. It's maintenance. So on that note, you guys have a great Monday, and we'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Thanks so much for watching.